I hope you didn't pay much for that camera. You're liable to break it.
Damaged already.
Well, of course we have sunshine, even though it's hazy sunshine on the 18th day of August, 2015. And of course our favorite weathermen and women have been predicting a heat wave. What is a heat wave? 3 days of 90-degree temperatures. We don't see that very often here in the great North Country, but when it happens, what can we do?
We'll take it.
Find a big ice cube and sit on it, I guess. So my little hybrid car made it all the way up the Northway, got off at that wonderful exit in Champlain. I had no idea which way to turn. I saw pylons, I saw big tractor trailers, and I said, dear God, save us. We got to go to the missile base road. So nobody screamed at me too loudly, and we made it up here. And I'm sorry I wasn't with Calvin when he made the first trip up here. I've never been to this end of the road. I have to say I've seen the frog farm, and you haven't lived until you've seen the frog farm, which is what, maybe a half a mile away at the very most.
Okay.
Mr. St. John gave us a good tour up there, and that's been a good thing to do too. We have some rich history in the North Country, along with this natural beauty that you see way up here on the end of the world, very close to the Canadian border. And part of that rich history is military. Yes, I guess I'm probably the oldest guy here. I'm not sure, and I won't embarrass anybody. But I was a 21-year-old wet behind the ears radio greenhorn when I arrived in this neck of the woods to start on the radio on July 4th, 1961. One of the first things I heard about were Atlas missile sites. I said to myself, what the heck does that mean? Are we going to war with Cuba? What's happening here? And then I started to meet thousands and thousands of people from an organization called General Dynamics Astronautics. And building these missile sites surrounding this region took a long time, took a lot of effort, and hopefully we never had to push that. I guess it was a red button. I don't know what color button it was. So Calvin came up here and did part one of the program without me because I had a little medical setback for about 28 seconds where the doctor said, you got to take a break. So I did. I feel good.
That's good.
So I'm up here today to meet some guys who are going to show us around and do part two. You're going to learn more about the history of these Atlas missile sites than you ever dreamed, because we're standing right around one. And we're going to go down into the bowels of the earth. I don't know what's going to happen.
John, if you go too far.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens. I can hold my breath for about a half a minute. So we're going to introduce everybody here. You are?
My name is Claude Deschard.
Claude. Good to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you.
Tony Gilloli.
Of course, we know Tony from Price Jobber.
Yeah, right.
My name is Gerald Fitzpatrick. People call me Fitz, and I'm the owner of the site here.
Close enough.
And I'm Jeff Stevens. I'm a researcher from the Midwest, just out here visiting and learning everything I can about these sites.
My understanding is that you already know everything about these sites.
No.
You've written 27 long treatises and books about them. You're the world's leading expert, and if you don't live up to that today, I'm leaving early. It's going to be warm. It's going to be warm anyway.
It's going to be his fault.
So, how did you get involved with it?
Well, I have always been fascinated by the manned missions, and the Saturn and the like. And I did a search on Atlas, and it ended up. I actually ended up in Roswell, looking at holes in the ground there. And then I think it was Fitz's site I found on the web. I said, "There's holes in the ground up in New York." What? That got me hooked. I said, "This is just too unique."
I love to go and investigate holes in the ground in northern New York, and people on eBay and everywhere have heard about missile sites with people building multi-million-dollar homes. I don't know if they ever did sell that one, did they? The one with the house in it?
No, they've been trying for years to sell that one. Yes.
I was about $63.7 million short. I checked my wallet the last day it was online, so I won't be doing that.
What
How did you get involved with buying this place?
Well, in fact, I bought it off eBay, and I bought it.
I should've. What would we do without Craigslist and eBay?
I was looking for a unique piece of property to renovate, and this site was on eBay, and I went ahead and bid on it, but I lost out. I was number 3. But a week later, the pods from PowerTex, they emailed me and said, "Are you still interested in my last bid price?" So I bought it in 2005.
So you've been around here for 10 years.
Off and on, when I'm not working, I come here and spend my summers.
Who mows the grass?
Of course, Norm Bonneau. Norm Bonneau. No, I do.
And how'd you get involved, my friend? You were
I
here.
worked on them.
Yeah.
Right after you interviewed me at the golf course, my miniature golf course.
Can you believe that? When was that? Last Tuesday?
1961. 1960. 1960.
Is it unbelievable? And you, my good friend?
Well, I was a member of the Teamsters Union, and I was the warehouse supervisor. They had a small cubicle where they kept parts and
Right here?
yeah, right here. And I tried to keep track of what was going in, what was going out. And we had 2 pickup trucks here, and if they needed a part from, we'll say, site 12 or whatever, they should hop in that truck and go get such and such, and away you'd go. And but most of the time I was here.
Long before that, I worked on construction port. I always worked on cement crews because I thought I was big and tough when I was 17, 18 years old. So I drove 65 miles each way from Elvira to help pour cement all over Plattsburgh Air Force Base. So if you see any bad cement and honeycombs in the walls, and you know I was involved with that. So I never got to work on the missile bases, but I met so many people who did. And I'm sure the 4 of you and Calvin would concur with me in saying that the building of those missile sites, those missile bases around this region, changed the economic, cultural aspect of this whole area forever and ever. It did. It really, really did. A lot of those people who worked here stayed here.
Yeah.
A lot of those people stationed on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base did their stint in the Air Force and moved back here. I just wrote a column about it for the Sun newspapers because look around. I mean, you and I have talked about this often. This is one fabulous place to live. Where are you originally from?
I'm from Central Illinois.
That'll teach you.
Yeah.
Huh?
There's lots of corn.
There
Lots of
is
beans.
lot, especially right now.
And no hills.
The corn is more than knee high because it's past the 4th of July. And what a change in venue, as they say.
Oh, it's just great coming up here. We used to spend summers in northern Wisconsin, and this is very similar, except, of course, this is a lot more hilly and just more picturesque, more scenic. I just really love coming up here.
Some of us who've been around here for more than a couple of weeks tend to take what we have around us for granted. And when I was trying to figure out what to write in that newspaper column, I don't have to look more than 2 feet past the back of my house, which is right on the Saranac River, and I say, this is unbelievable. I don't even have to get in the car to find more beauty than I have right here. I can get on my feet and walk on top of the hill and just survey and look around. Yeah, it's going to be 90 degrees today.
Hey, so what?
So be it. They got a little thing called AC,
below
and
zero, too.
you can go and find that. So you guys have all been in touch with this in one way or another. Some of you intimately. Where were you when they were building the sites?
Yeah, I was born in 1955, so I would have been.
A little shave urban
Kids.
So I would have been in Columbus, Ohio, and that's where I grew up.
You had no idea what the Atlas missile sites were until you were probably an adult.
Probably 59 when I decided to buy this place.
Isn't that amazing?
I came up here in '57 to work on Beekman Town School,
Did you? Come
and
on.
I've been up here ever since.
57.
You know,
They're, you know, among us we might be at least 100 years old here. Huh? I saw in the paper this morning the oldest World War II veteran just died at 110.
Wow.
She was 100. She was in her
77.
mid-30s when she joined.
77 in March.
I'm 80.
You are? You're older than me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I can shrink
Older
down
than
a little
all of
bit.
you.
I don't have to hold my chest out anymore today. You, sir, are a maniac.
Yes,
That's the
sir.
only way I can describe somebody who would buy this mammoth hole in the ground, and after all this time, you still don't know what the heck you're going to do with it.
Yes.
Or you do?
No, well, I call it stabilizing the place. I'm cleaning the place up, and we'll
That's what
see.
the doctor said we'll try to stabilize
It's
it.
an
You know,
adventurer.
you know.
He's an adventurer. That's what we need.
We'll see. I'm not gonna. I know for a fact that I'm not gonna live under. It's just too big of a project. Too much damp and water and so forth. But I mean, if you take a look at the property, I mean, we've been cutting the grass, and it's a nice place to spend the summer.
It's really quite. How big is it?
It's 8 acres.
It is 8
Yeah.
acres. I never.
5 acres within the chain link fence.
You know, I have visited most of the sites at one time or another over the years, but never this one.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's always a pleasure for me to learn a little bit about history. Calvin and I have been doing this thing for 18 years, and him far longer than that. But it's, you know, I consider it another master's degree just to come up here and learn. And you're learning more all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Every time I run into new people, new faces, new stories, a new aspect of it. Talked to concrete guys. I've talked to other engineers. Talking with these guys, sheet steel and that. It's fascinating.
You know, we are so fortunate that quite a few of the old who worked on these missile sites are still around, so we can
There's not many.
get.
There's not too many.
Well, we got a couple.
Yeah, I know that myself and in a sheet metal crew was Mike Ahern. We're the only two left as far as the sheet metal.
Come on.
As far as I can remember, his brother
Seems
died.
like last Tuesday to me. What is going on here?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, some are. We know there is a lot of, as the historians would call it, extant information, photographs. Calvin was able to find hundreds of photographs online, get them copied. We have a number of museums in the area, one of which at least tries to feature information about the missile sites, the Plattsburgh Air Force Base Museum. But there are lots and lots of pictures, there are lots of diagrams, we came upon something a few weeks ago that you might not even know about it unless you saw our interview with the people who are creating a little local brewery in the old stone barracks.
Right.
Did you hear about that?
Firehouse, yeah.
But did you hear what they found?
Liable to find anything. I worked on them too.
Well, out behind 1838, you worked on the old stone barracks?
Well, not quite
Not
that
quite
old.
that old. Anyway.
What did you find?
Well, are you ready, Fritz? Are you ready? Maybe if you're lucky, you'll touch this stuff like I did. Out behind the old stone barracks are a couple of smaller buildings. One is a red brick structure they called the Battery. As you know, that was started in 1838 and ended being finished in the 1840s. The people who bought the old stone barracks were cleaning out that little battery. One of the young kids was using a metal tube about 4 feet high and about 6 inches in diameter as a battering ram to get the door open. And his father or somebody said, Blake, don't do that. What if there's powder in that baby? Yeah, we're going to take a ride we didn't anticipate. So he stopped. He hadn't even dented this thing. And it had a handle on the top, and he took the handle off the tube, and inside were a number of rolls of documents,
Really?
of blueprints, of plans for what we still call the new base, along with information on every one of the missile sites.
Is it a time capsule?
If it was a time capsule, it's the kind I have in the corners of my attic when I throw stuff up there because I have no more place to put it downstairs. So in essence, it was a time capsule. I couldn't wait till Calvin got there and we filmed that thing and made these folks promise to donate it to the Historical Association and the museum. So you all will be able to get a chance to look at these things. We just unrolled one, and I was astounded. I don't know how many there were, Calvin. Would you guess 10 in there? 10 rolls, maybe? It was stuffed.
Blueprints and stuff inside.
Blueprints and maps and rolls and so on. And as far as I know, nobody officially knew that stuff had been thrown into that building. But isn't that great? I use the word serendipity because that means, oh, we just ran into some stuff. We just walked down a road and there was a missile site, and we just,
Who has that now?
the people at the Stone Barracks have it. As far as I know, you can go in there and look at their progress and talk with those people and take a look at it. They promised us on camera that they will be donating it to the Historical Association and the museum because it has to be preserved for posterity.
Sure.
And they've done that to maintain the architectural integrity of that building. So we could talk about that stuff all day. Well, that's the way I am with a 10-minute introduction to a program that's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to take a look around today. You don't mind?
No, absolutely not. You're welcome.
Even if you mind, I'm going to do it anyway. So it doesn't matter. You can call the cops.
As long
or
as you
whatever.
give me the names of those folks that have that too. I want to go see that.
Yeah, well, you can go stop in there any day. They're
Sure.
working in that place every
on the
day.
old base, right?
It's
Yeah.
the old stone barracks.
Yeah.
It's an iconic structure, the oldest building on the former base, and reputedly the most haunted. But you don't care about that. I do because I write ghost stories. So let's continue right here at the missile base site in Champlain. I think we ought to sing a little barbershop harmony. I like the way this echoes down here. You know how you sing in the shower and it comes back? Yeah. And then they would come and raid the place and we wouldn't be able to do any more in here because they haul us away. This is almost reminiscent of a time when Calvin and I did a nice show and they did a little rehabilitation work at Trinity Episcopal Church in downtown Plattsburgh. And we wanted to go up into the bell tower. Calvin says, "Can you carry that camera?" I understand you took the little camera last time and took a little walk, didn't you?
I sure did. I went down to our next level, through the tunnel, 40 feet, and into the main silo. And with that little camera, I gave everybody a tour.
You know, it's interesting providence that we should be here in 2015 when we just hoisted an American flag at the Cuban embassy, right? And we're trying to renew some of our associations with that little country, which isn't too far.
Right.
And those of us who are old enough remember very well the Cuban Missile Crisis,
Oh, yeah.
John F. Kennedy, the whole 9 yards. But very few people who are watching this program on Hometown Cable know how close we came
That's right.
to the big one. You know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you guys knew it back in the day.
Right.
You walk down here, I don't know how far underground we are right now,
25 feet?
25 feet? But all of a sudden you're saying, let me see, the sinks were over there, and the showers were here, and the toilets were here. How the heck would you know that?
Because I spent a lot of time in here.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing how much technology we had in the late 1950s and early 1960s. And some of this stuff, if you didn't blow it to kingdom come, will be around here 1,000 years from now, I suppose, right?
These will be here forever.
Yeah. So you had a little work to do when you came down here. You've been cleaning it up little by little by little. I didn't have to walk through 4 feet of water when I came down the stairs.
No, I can't even talk now, Gordy. Sorry about that.
Take your time. I'll just make funny sounds in the background.
It was in pretty rough shape. I took down all the walls, all that HVAC system. There was rust. There was dirt. There was mud. So it's taken 10 years.
I'm so glad that Calvin decided to do this, and this has been a dream of his for a very long time, with those photographs, interviewing people like you guys who are actually on the scene way back when, and giving, as I said earlier, a liberal education to people who had no idea that we even had those Atlas missile sites around here. If you could have seen one of those big rockets, those Atlas rockets were used for a lot of things, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
And this is power beyond what people can even fathom, isn't it? Huh?
Make that thing in China look sick.
Isn't that amazing? So this was called, these were living quarters here?
Yep.
These were, you said showers, bathrooms?
Bunk beds, there's bunk beds in here, and downstairs was the control panels for all their, to set missile off and so forth. They did everything from out here. They had to close the blast gates there so that if something
We
happened.
passed
it wouldn't
them,
come in
they're
here.
massive.
Yeah, they wouldn't come into here, so everything was done from downstairs. They're all gone. I would imagine those panels are all gone.
Most of the stuff was pretty well gutted by the time you got here.
Yeah, exactly. I just ended up with the stuff that nobody else wanted.
Nobody's gonna jackhammer this floor for a little time, so I guess you're okay. So you're just gnawing away at it, aren't you?
Yeah, for example, right below us, I'm starting to paint, but it's a process of grinding with a brush, and I've got a needle gun which is descales the rust and so
I
forth.
hope you don't have a full-time job away from here.
Well, I do contract work, so I do a year, and then I take 4 or 5 months off to work on this
love
place.
Don't you admire people like this who would take time to get in here and preserve it?
Yep.
Because all you had, you guys hadn't been inside here for a long time, right? Either one of you?
50 years.
Actually, I was in this silo once. Carl Merchant, I don't know if you knew Carl Merchant. He'd be in the tool crib perpetually, every day, looking for parts. So one day he says to me, "Have you ever been in that thing?" I says, "No, come with me." And we went all the way to the bottom, and it's the only time I've ever been in there. Yeah.
You know, while we're standing here and we plan to do a little motivating before we're through, I want to point out something that Calvin and I were talking about off camera. I worked on a lot of major construction projects when I was a young guy, because that's how I could make money to go to college for 6 years. And every now and again, somebody would get hurt pretty bad. I worked on a seaway on a couple of major projects from beginning to end, and while I was there, on both of those projects, not one person was killed. And I don't even know if there was an OSHA back in those days. I know that little hard hat that I wore every day, wouldn't stop a ball-peen hammer if you gave it a little tap on the top. So how we survived, and on construction sites, the sound was always so loud.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't talk to each other. If you hollered headache, somebody better get the heck out of the way.
Yeah.
But my point is that a number of people died building these sites.
Right.
How many, Steve? Get over here. Do you know? Or Jeff?
How many what?
How many people died building these sites? Get over here a minute.
I'd have to get my data and facts. I think it was 8.
I'll say 8 because Calvin told me, and I believe everything he tells me.
Yeah, there's nobody that was severely injured at this site. Is Alberg, Swanton, Lewis, and I believe Riverview, Sugarbush had some problems down there.
Ellenberg,
Yeah,
yes.
Ellenberg.
Some people suffered permanent injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Gordy, tell them what you just said to me about.
Well, there's a trash excavator when they were first digging out the holes. Evidently, a great big boulder fell, hit the trash excavator, rolled over, and I think it took the leg off of the operator. It
Do I
rolled
wanna
back and
hear this?
killed a laborer nearby.
You are kidding me.
No. Then they had 3 people that got into the mix as it was being poured.
Well, that happened also on the Seaway, and there's some humor in looking back at that, but it's horrible.
Yeah.
Because most of these projects had their own cement plants on the scene, and there were accidents. Because I know on the Seaway, it was 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
That's how I made the overtime. But some people were tired.
Well, once they started to pour, it was 24 hours a day till it got to the
That's it.
top, nonstop. They couldn't stop. That's why they didn't want to take the 3 guys out, because they didn't want to take them up because it was going so fast that they're buried up anyway.
In retrospect, guys like the 3 of us here and others wonder how did we live through that stuff? We took chances we shouldn't have. I suppose we must have been a little bit careful, even though I've been
I should have been dead about 50 times myself.
well, I've had things go flying by me in the middle of the night. I've seen the big Euclid trucks go over the side of the pours into the drink, and
falling
All
off.
you do is, but then I did a lot of stupid things like riding bulls and rodeos back in those days, so construction was mild compared to that. But it was crazy. How long did you work on the missile sites?
From 60 to 62, I think it was.
Couple of years.
Yeah, for two different outfits, though.
Oh, you did?
Well, Triangle Sheet Metal was the sheet metal outfit that came in to do the sheet metal work. I was with them for over a year and a half. Then when GDA took over the second phase, I worked for Bechtel.
Oh, yeah, Bechtel.
Yeah,
Big outfit.
yeah.
How about you, young man?
And I worked for Bechtel, as the gentleman says. Then, back in those days, you could have a job in the morning, it's gone at noon, in the afternoon you got another one. It was unbelievable.
You did what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you did.
It just was a booming time in this area. Yep. And I got done here with Bechtel, and that afternoon I was working for Augsburg Transportation, hauling liquid oxygen
kidding me.
and helium and nitrogen. Yep, went right from one to the other.
A lot of great stories, good anecdotal information, and now we've even got a lot of stuff that's official information, including those photographs that you may or may not have seen. Have you shown any on camera yet? No. Oh, that'll...
One or two.
Maybe one or two, yeah. We're talking how many hundreds, Kelvin?
I don't know, 250, I don't know, it's on the CD, but.
250 or more?
We're only looking at about 60 today, because you just can't.
I love it. All right, what are we gonna do next? Anybody got an idea? Where would you like to go next?
We'll look at the pictures unless there's more we need to.
No, let's go look at those pictures.
All right, let's do it, gentlemen. Thank you so much, I love it. So you bought this whole place a few years ago for $39.95, marked down from $46.50.
Actually, you want to know how much I paid for it? I paid $175,000 for it.
You're kidding me.
So I mean,
First of all, I never dreamed you'd tell me.
no, it
Number
doesn't.
two, I'm just blown away.
No,
by that
at the end of the day, fine. I've got this silo, but on top, again, back to those 8 acres. I've got nice 8 acres, plenty of woods around me.
Think about that.
So I'm pleased.
If you
Now-
had getting that steel out of there, you'd have your $100,000 back.
We climbed up the stairs from 55 or 56 degrees down in the bowels of the... and somebody said, who turned the air conditioner off? So what are we looking at behind us here, gentlemen? And what do you remember about it?
These are the doors that covered the whole thing, protected missile. As we were talking about it downstairs, I was here when they put these on. They had 2 cranes and they'd pick the doors up and set them on there. Yeah. That was,
This one went this way, that one went that way. Yeah.
And when the klaxon sounded or whatever happened when it was time to get it out of there, it didn't take very long for them to open up.
I think it was 15 seconds.
I
that
seem
they had
to
that
remember
up there.
15 seconds. Think about that.
Yeah.
yeah, all this weight.
That's with the doors open and the elevator up, ready to fire.
That was an engineering, no small engineering feat by itself. How did they do that? With certain pneumatic jacks, or how did it work?
Yeah, well, there's 2 jacks, one on each corner here, and same thing on the other side. Then you had where that plate is. They had a great big, I don't know, I guess that ram was probably about that big, around about 8 inches in diameter. It was just one, but when these things threw it, that probably threw them up in the air about this high.
Yeah, you
And
better
then
not
those
be sitting on it when they go
oh
up,
boy.
right? Or you'd have a
Then
big
the
thrill.
rams would go up, and by the time the rams got these doors back, that silo, the elevator was coming up. at
I've
the
seen
same
the
time.
movies, and I think you're well within the right parameters, around 15 or 20 seconds.
ready
And
to
once
fire.
they got up there, then they just went,
Yep. These tipped back just a little bit.
Yep,
The doors
little bit.
tipped back just a little bit.
amazing.
The rams held them right there.
So, sorry, did you see these
Don't be
doors?
sorry, you own the joint.
You
You can jump in any language you want to.
Did you actually see the doors open?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
You could hear them. When these 4 small rams, they only come up about that far.
Right.
But when they come up, it was just like explosions. I mean, it shook the whole place when those things went off, because they just
Yep.
shot them.
Like a gunshot.
Oh, yeah, but a lot of it in a gunshot.
Even before that, was there like a siren or any kind of?
Oh, everybody had to be cleared of everything. You got warnings. They didn't do
Okay.
anything until I mean, on the test, we were warned well in advance.
Okay.
Yeah, that they were going to do it.
And if the silos that I visited out in other parts of the United States were relatively similar with much smaller missiles and so on in them, but the perimeters were secure.
Oh, yeah.
So if a groundhog got too close, it wasn't too long before a four-wheel drive vehicle was there with guns drawn. I mean, you didn't play around with these sites.
Yeah.
This was top priority, big-time stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, we had missile sites around the country, but of course, how many did we have here? 12?
12.
Atlas
12,
missile sites.
Yeah.
You worked on these projects for how long? 2 years?
About 2.5 years.
And you did for
I was here about 6 months.
about 6 months.
In the tool crib. Then after that, I went to hauling the liquid.
Yeah.
Nitrogen, oxygen, and helium.
Well, yeah, of course the missile crisis
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you know, some of us are almost old enough to remember how powerful that time period was. Even little kids were involved because their parents were talking about it around the supper table. You know, we would watch one or two local news stations. News wasn't on 24 hours a day. You didn't have endless talking heads, as I call them, who had to fill in time, so they just blather. I call it blather, blather, blather. In those days, you watch the news at 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. Occasionally there was a newscast in the morning, and you never had a thing called breaking news. Now you see it anytime somebody gets a hangnail.
So when you guys were here during that Cuban Missile Crisis, how was security? Do you remember security?
No, it wasn't that awful great. There wasn't any security until after they started bringing the missiles in.
Okay.
Right.
There was watchmen at the gates, but it wasn't secure to the fact that you couldn't get in. You know, we just rolled right in, especially when we were first putting them in. If there was a watchman there, okay. If there wasn't, it wasn't no problem.
Okay.
But you had trucks going in and out all the time.
What our audience must know, if they're students, like this guy over my shoulder is a student of this, there was a great deal of controversy over the Atlas missiles, while they were being installed and after they would be installed. And people would meet each other for a beer at the local bar and say, I wonder if those things would really fly if they pushed the button. You think they'd really go, or are we just trying to blow smoke in the various orifices for people on the other side of the world? Do you think they'd really fly? And there were snafus, right? There were construction problems along the way. We've already mentioned the fact that a number of people were killed. An almost endless number of people were injured, and I didn't hear those high numbers until Calvin was telling me this morning. But you should know that anytime you're doing something as sophisticated and dangerous as this, you know, things are going to happen. So what else do you remember from this specific spot right here? Anything?
As you were talking about the security, when I left here from the tool crib, went to hauling the liquid, I was 23 years old, and I needed, I had to have a permit or clearance to get on the missile sites. So Vic Musso was business agent. Remember Vic? He was the business agent. He says, I think I can get you cleared to go on there. So sure enough, he did. And here I am, 23 years old. And you had to be, what was it, 25, I think, wasn't it?
Supposed to be.
Yeah, 25. And I had like 2 years.
I was long gone from construction business by the time I was 25. I had already been to radio for a couple of years. You still got your picture ID? You guys have your
I
union
didn't have-
cards or
I didn't
anything?
have- Well, I got my union card. I've always had a union. I still got a union card. I'm still a member
Oh,
of
you
the union.
still got a union?
Oh, I'm still a member
I
of the
stayed in the
union.
labor's union for years and years because
where
I
did my
never
pension
knew
from?
when the radio business was going to fail and I'd have to go back into construction.
Yeah, no, my pension is from my union.
Oh, you're
Me
okay.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. None of those for me.
They're from Washington.
But and it was a great time. in this area.
Either one of you guys ever injured on construction, working on the sites, personally?
I was
Not, no.
I was using
I
a
got hurt once,
screwdriver.
but not here.
I was using a screwdriver one time and
Fell off my neck and stuff.
put a lot of pressure on it. It twisted
Yeah.
quick and it snapped. I still have problems with my wrist.
No kidding.
Yeah. Pull all the tendons
Let's
in
see
it.
if we can get you a couple $100 a month.
Yeah, right. Okay, that sounds good. I'll take it.
Any other comments while we're standing here, my friend?
No, I'm just
Are you going to keep all this just like this, or what are you going to do?
no. Actually, I'm trying to get this one door out of here, and I'm trying to do it without a crane.
I don't have enough friends.
So in fact, the neighbor and I, we've been working on it. And I got 4 jacks from Tractor Supply, and each year I try to move it a couple of inches. And again, these I've heard anywhere between 70 and 90 tons.
I hope you live a long time. And a
Well-
couple inches a year, you know, you could
Well,
be
I mean-
171 by the...
You know, no one thought that I could move it 2.5, 3 feet. And
See the thickness of that, what, from there down to the bottom?
Well, yeah.
That's how thick it is all
Yeah.
through the whole door.
so it's
There's probably
it's
20
huge.
ton of steel in that.
it's a work in progress.
Or more.
It's huge.
Yes. And what happened is that the salvagers took the pins and bearings, the hinges from each corner. So I think they were probably demilitarizing the site so no one would
Oh, yeah.
get into it. And from what I heard is the pins were stainless steel. So it was
Well, you know, when they built Plattsburgh what we call the new base, Plattsburgh Air Force Base, and when I worked on construction, there were a lot of underground bunkers. Because, yes, they did have atomic weapons here. Although we can neither confirm nor deny, that was the answer you got, right? So one day on a site, the guy was pulling a joke on a couple of guys, myself and another young laborer, saying, see that door over there? Go get the pickup truck and bring that door over here. It looked like a 6 or 8 foot door, about 4 or 5 feet wide, because we got to install it. So we went over there, and of course, I broke 3 2x4s trying to pry one end of it up. I said to myself, I think we've been had. We went back and laughed with everybody else, and finally they came with a crane, and who knows how many 1,000 pounds that underground bunker door weighed. But, I mean, there's no question, just looking here, you got more weight than 6 strong men can budge in a long time.
It is a
They
lot of
put
weight.
that in with 2 cranes.
Yep. Two
Really?
cranes.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
2 cranes on each
2
door.
cranes to put that in.
Oh, see, you're talking to a guy who grew up with steam shovels and construction in New York.
Here's another question. So they built these doors on site.
Oh, yeah.
So
They built them off to the side.
So was it over in this area? Do you
I
remember
don't know
where?
exactly which part. See,
Yeah.
this concrete wasn't here at the time.
Yeah.
Where you're standing, the concrete, the hole probably starts out here someplace, straight down.
Okay.
This was like a walkway all the way around the whole thing, probably about 4 to 5 foot wide, with reinforcing rod coming up through it. Then they poured this and a cap all at once.
All right.
Then they put the doors in, but they built these after they poured the cap.
Okay.
But they built them off to the side someplace. Just exactly where, I don't know, because I was on the riser crew, so they did them in different spots. But they worked for days and days making these doors.
I imagine they did, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
to get them set in at exactly the right angles.
Yep, the iron workers there, there's a network of steel in that you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, look at the rebar in there.
Oh,
You got about 2-inch rebar in there.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and that goes all the way across. Then it comes this way, and then there's layers of it in there.
Yeah, like a mesh.
As I say, you probably got 20 ton of metal in there alone.
Sure.
how many men would be working on this site on a daily basis? Does anybody know?
A couple, 300.
No kidding, that many on each site.
A lot of
So when I say they brought people, GDA
Oh, yeah.
brought people in here from all over the country.
Electricians, sheet metal workers, plumbers, iron workers, laborers, carpenters. You know, you got every trade there is working in here all at once.
Teamsters.
Yeah, don't forget those Teamsters, baby.
Yeah, you don't want to forget them guys. No.
Well, during that time, okay, this project had a start and finish date. Were people getting along? Were the different trades
Oh, yeah.
working together, and they knew it was for
We've
national
always-
defense and that sort
the
of thing?
trades have always gotten along pretty good together. There are times that the business agents sometimes like to step in where they say, well, he's doing our work. And then they might have a little difference
it's all
of opinion.
union.
But
It's all union. There was no
everybody was
scrap work
union
here at all. Everybody.
Oh yeah, everybody was union here.
Yep.
And
If you weren't a carpenter, you didn't grab a handsaw, right?
But still in all, the trades got along well enough so that if an electrician was moving a piece of equipment, and a plumber or
Would help.
would give him a hand.
I remember that
just
too,
to
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
You know, just I mean, why let a guy get hurt when you can just push a little bit or pull a little bit just to help him
I saw
out?
a lot of that on
You know,
construction too, yeah.
we always got along good. The construction workers always got along good. They still do.
Did you ever stay in touch with people from outside this area after the sites were finished? No, not much.
Just one fellow, the iron worker that I was telling you about, he was working in New York City, and I had the golf course there, and he come up from New York City, and of course Route 9 was the only way back and forth then,
Sure.
and he stopped at my golf course. And Wally Montour, I'll never forget his name. He's an Indian from Akwesasne up there.
Yeah.
And he stopped. He was there for probably about 2 hours talking to me.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. And every time he come back through, even if we were there, he'd
Jay.
take and stop.
But you guys knew each other all along.
I didn't know this fellow here.
No, you're kidding.
No,
No,
we didn't know
well,
one another.
He might have been here at a different phase when I was.
Ah.
Everything was done in different phases.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
on an erection crew, and we went. I started Swanton, and we hit 10 sites. Just putting. I was just welding angle irons on the beams to run the ductwork up. Then we went from here to another site, and the other sheet metal crew would be doing something else, putting the ductwork up and smaller stuff.
So what happened to all the surplus that was here, that was moved before you got here?
Well, I would assume the Air Force, all the good stuff,
Yeah.
was gone.
How much good stuff did the Air Force leave behind at Plattsburgh Air Force Base? Huh? You know
That I don't know, but
Just, new refrigerators and stoves and cabinets they
Well,
just
that-
put in housing and
Yeah.
we know how that
Sometimes
works
makes it
too.
and then I believe there was a public auction.
Yeah.
There
And,
was.
in
I had
fact,
forgotten
Just,
that.
just
Sure.
like the base.
Yeah, sure.
Just like the base with the militarized.
And Tony, you were saying something about your buddy got one of the pumps that originally.
Oh yeah, the fellow that used to own Pioneer Motel, Norm Hobbs.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, well, he had a pump down in the lake for the motel. Well, these pumps that were down here, they were probably this big around, probably about this high. I mean, to push that water, and it had an outtake on that, probably like that. So he tied in all of the houses on Hobbs Road down there with that water.
What do you
When
think
he
about
put it
that?
into the lake. He put it into the lake,
Sure.
and he supplied his motel and all those houses down through
Isn't
there.
that amazing?
Yeah, until they got public water there now.
A piece of equipment like that
Yeah.
cost a fortune when it was new, and it was
Oh,
probably
my
sold for
God.
$800. or
Well, they
whatever.
had these big wide lights. They're probably that wide, that high, like this. And I bought one of them for my golf course.
Did you really?
I got it for $75.
Think about
It
that.
cost $1,800 when it was
Yeah.
new.
But you got it from here.
I know I got it from when they were auctioning, selling the stuff at,
Yeah.
down near the motel there.
That's right, yeah.
When GDA had that building right next
Yep,
door, Norm
yep.
Foote's place.
Yep. My gosh.
This was equipment from the Air Force Base or
here.
from the silo?
From here. Well, it was on the construction phase that the stuff they were getting rid of.
Okay.
GDA had the opportunity to get rid of all that stuff.
And GDA is.
General Dynamics.
Oh,
General
okay.
Dynamics Astronautics, the ones
They're
that
the
in
general
charge of-
contractor. They're
Yeah.
the general contractor. Then you had Raymond Kaiser, Razor Kaiser, Mako, and Puget Sound was the general contractors. Then you had subcontractors, which was my sheet metal company, Triangle Sheet Metal out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had plumbers had their different organization and so forth. Everything is stepped down till you get to the people.
GDA was the general contractor
they,
for
they,
all the
they had
missile
control
sites.
of everything, both phases.
And this was an auction, or
It wasn't an auction per se. If you needed something, if you went in there and you looked and you found something, but you had to know that it was there. They didn't just go out and advertise it that much.
okay.
But a lot of regular companies bought a lot of that stuff because they could use it in their work.
Is there any truth to what I heard at some of these sites? Some of the bulk items they just buried.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of stuff.
Well,
buried.
you know, there are rumors and legends about things
yeah.
being buried that you couldn't even fathom.
Oh, yeah.
And I can attest to some of them because I've been around, Army and Air Force and Navy bases around the country one time or another, and I've seen the bulldozers at work, especially where you had summer maneuvers at
Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
I can call it Pine Camp now because some of us are old enough to remember when Fort Drum was Pine Camp.
Yeah.
And at the end of 2 or 4 6-week maneuvers, whatever rations were left
Throw them away.
in the big hole. And there were neighbors who would go in with picks and shovels and take a lot.
If people
I
only
won't say that we had a lot of those rations to eat at my house, but we were poor.
people ever know what there is over on that base
Oh,
buried.
yeah, well, And that wonderful fuel that would burn.
Oh,
Do you think
we used to
could
use
get
it for testing, for instruction. We had fuel burns out there, and we
Fuel
had to
burns.
walk into that
Blacks.
burning.
Yeah.
black
Walk into it.
smoke 500
Yeah.
feet in the air. Everybody
Yeah.
thought that was a great spectacle.
Yeah.
And we all took deep breaths as we watched it burn.
We had to extinguish it.
What was that, K2?
Yeah,
Number 2 fuel?
yeah,
Fuel?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Long and rich history of the military in the North Country. We don't want to belittle anything they did because
Yeah.
when it closed, this was the oldest active military installation in the United States, dating way back a long, long time. This is great fun, guys. I think we could conjure up tales, some of which we probably shouldn't be talking about publicly, but it's
Put
great
somebody in
fun.
trouble.
It's great fun. What's next? Pictures?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're on the inside. You might recognize this as a Quonset building, right? We're back in the day they used Quonset huts for a lot of things, and they had them at these missile sites for sure. This is a round table discussion. It is round, isn't it? And if it was a square table, I'd still call it a round table discussion. Claude Bayshard over here, we met him earlier. Tony Galili, our old buddy over on that side. This guy over there changing his boots, I don't smell anything. So that's Jeff Stevens, who's quickly becoming the world's leading experts on Atlas missile sites. And Fitz, your first name is really Gerald, but people call you Fitz?
Correct.
So we're calling him Fitz today, and he doesn't even know where his ancestors came from in Ireland. We may have to take a special tour at some point, but doesn't he look Irish? I mean, come on.
Sure does.
So we're delighted to be here with a bunch of pictures that Calvin has spent a lot of time at, countless hours, we might say. You've heard us mention earlier that we had Plattsburgh Air Force Base in the middle and an almost partial circle of the 12 Atlas missile sites around the area. Have some of you been to all the sites? Have you guys been to all
All
of them?
but two.
All but 2? You've been to all but 2? Which 2 did you miss?
Allberg and Willsboro.
I can't believe you missed Allberg.
Well, they
I mean,
were,
you're right here.
No, well, I started in Swanton, but
Oh, you did?
yeah, and I hit all the rest of them except Allberg and the Willsboro on
Yeah.
the first and second phase.
Oh, that's amazing. Have you visited more than one, Fitz?
I've visited probably about 6 of them,
Have you really?
and I've gotten into a few of them.
Well, I've learned more about them than just in the last hour since we've been here today, and I thought I knew quite a bit before I got here. So it goes to show you how smart I am, and not very much about my long-term memory because I don't have one. So anyway, what else have we got here? U.S. Air Force Atlas ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles.
So you can read that. I'll show this.
Okay.
It's the only copy I got of this. So.
We've got a cheat sheet here, a crib sheet as we used to call it in school, listing the 12 sites. Champlain, Allberg, Swanton, Willsboro, Sable Forks, Clayburg, Redford, Shady Lake, Dannemora, Allenburg, Morris, Lewis, Sugarbush, Riverview, Brainardsville, otherwise known as Harrigan's Corners if you want a soft ice cream. You can head up in that
Just outside of
direction.
Moore's.
Yeah,
No,
no,
Brainerdville.
Brainardsville.
Close to Malone.
This is the one in Brainardsville.
Oh,
Where
okay.
you turn to go to Malone,
Yeah.
374. So this sheet, the next sheet we're looking at here tells us a little bit more about these Atlas missiles. We knew even as young people working on these sites that this was one powerful missile,
Yep.
you know? And it had to be because you know where they were headed, right? We all know where they were headed. Hopefully it wasn't headed to Clayburg from here. The speed, for those who were interested, 17,000 miles an hour. Is that amazing? Nominal thrust, 360,000 pounds.
Boy.
A range? Anybody want to guess before you see it?
1,500 miles.
6,325 miles.
1,000. Oh,
There were 3 rocket engines, 2 boosters, a sustainer using liquid propellants. And in those days, JFK said we'd make it to the moon by the end of the decade. Guess what, folks?
Yep.
He was right.
Yep.
Okay. A payload, all you need to know is they had a nuclear warhead.
Yep.
And for years, as I said before, we didn't admit publicly that we had nuclear weapons, atomic bombs, if you will, in underground bunkers at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. And you wonder why this area was a prime target? Now maybe you know.
Yep.
So anyway, we're not going to go through the whole thing here, but just to let people know that this information is available. We're creating an archive here of videos so that people around the world can watch this for a long time to come. Some people may say hometown cable is small potatoes. I disagree. Calvin's been doing this since the 80s. I've been doing it for 18 years. And when you think of the hundreds and yes, thousands of different events that we've covered like this, we could start our own little library. If you could see his old VHS archives at his house, you'd understand why. So what do we have?
Okay, right here, this just a cover letter that these photos that we're going to look at is about 60, 62 photos. They're part of about maybe 250 that were in a scrapbook that General Dynamics gave to Colonel Fite. Colonel Fite was the commander at the air base during the construction phase. So this was given to him in 1962, and it ended up, like this missile silo, it ended up on eBay. And
That's incredible. It really is.
the fellow who bought him has an Atlas missile site online, so I asked him if I gave him a few bucks if he'd scan them for me, and he did, so that's how we're able to have these and to share them. So, and after I did the first interview, I put it online, and Colonel Fite's daughter contacted me.
No kidding.
Yeah, and she was wondering what happened to those pictures. But when he died, they kind of lost track of them, and they ended up on eBay.
That happens.
So she was happy that they found a good home, and I sent her a copy of the DVD, of the CD, so that she'd be able to enjoy the entire little booklet that was given to her father. Like I said, 250 pictures given to him by the people who constructed these 12 silos. So
So thank goodness, and we might as well pat Calvin on the shoulder
Yeah.
for his foresight in finding these things and preserving them
I guess so.
for everybody else to enjoy. And
Something I've
and
never
people,
seen here
people like
before.
this guy here and the rest of you guys for sharing your memories and your expertise in various fields. What do we got here, Calvin?
this is, you can read it. And this is, I'll show who they are.
Grouped around Major John Terrell, known affectionately as Tarmac Jack. For a lot of reasons which we don't have to go into today, but he was the mayor of the city of Plattsburgh for a long, long time. They had a reception for civic leaders, and you got Colonel Beck, commander of the 556th Strategic Missile Squadron, Colonel Fite, whose name we've mentioned, Site Activation Task Force Commander, Colonel Winton Close, commander of the 820th Aerospace Division of SAC, the Strategic Air Command. After viewing the Atlas missile and touring the launch complex, the group of 60 dignitaries enjoyed a gourmet dinner at the officers' mess. And I don't mind telling you that I helped to pour the concrete slab for the officers' mess. And hopefully it wasn't too bad a mess when we finished with it. But the officers' mess, the officers' club doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So you got this, Cal? Okay.
Turn that one sideways. No, the other way. There we go. That's where we just were.
Yep.
This gives you an idea. We were in this part, right?
Yep.
Right.
We were in this part.
Yeah.
You had to go through a tube and down. How much stuff is in this silo?
How much I still have left in my silo?
Yeah.
I've got this whole structure here is called the crib. I've got that.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I haven't been all the way down since I've got water, but I've been down this way.
How much water have you got in there right now?
Oh, I would, million gallons.
100 plus feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking in
Yeah.
terms of feet.
Okay, I was thinking.
How long can you tread water? Okay.
I like to get one of those if I can sometime.
Okay,
Okay. You want to see what it looks like?
read the bottom.
General Dynamics Astronautics.
It's the date.
The date is 10/20/62.
Right.
And the -1 is site number 1. So this was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis was October 14th to the 28th. And I'm sure there was more than one peeking out of the ground out of those 12 silos. Now, they
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
all turned over to the Air Force at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jeff could tell us how many were turned over or not turned over at that point. But General Dynamics, I'm sure, was ready to fire this if need be. And this is what it looked like right here on Fitzy's backyard here on October 20th, 1962 in Champlain.
Powerful.
This site wasn't ready during the Cuban Missile Crisis in October. This site was actually activated and ready to launch on November 3rd of 62. So there were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sites that were launch capable during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The rest.
So why do we have the wrong date on this, I wonder?
We don't.
That's
Oh, you don't?
probably during doing a propellant loading exercise.
Claude was
I see.
here. Claude was here. He could tell you.
Yeah, what happened, I don't know if that was on camera earlier, they cut short the testing of the system with the nitrogen. And, check for leaks and everything else that goes along with it, right, Tony? And we hauled the nitrogen out of here when I was working for Asbury and reloaded with oxygen so that they could get these things ready to go in case we need them.
Okay.
Now, that test was cut short. It took a chance.
So on October 20th, they could raise and lower the
yeah.
missile, but it just wasn't armed and,
Correct.
okay.
Oh, I believe it was armed. It wasn't armed?
That's probably just liquid nitrogen coming out of it.
Yeah.
This is probably being tested here. Yeah.
Okay.
But if we showed it to the Russians in those days, they think
Yeah,
that
it
thing
was
was ready to go.
Your scare tactics. Using scare tactics,
Yeah.
that's all.
Or
There was a
that worked
dummy,
very well on both sides, didn't
Oh,
it,
yeah,
back in
you're
those
right.
days?
there was a dummy warhead that weighed the same, and it was the same
Yeah, of
physical
course.
diameter, so that when they raised and lowered the missile up and down, they knew that they had the weight right, they had the balance right,
Exactly.
nothing bad would happen.
Yeah.
Because when this thing's loaded with oxygen and RP1, the fuel, you don't want it to tip sideways. That's a bad thing.
I can understand that completely. Okay, I got you. All right, next we have the construction phase. Ground was broken on 15 June, my birthday, 1960, although they didn't know it was my birthday at the time. The end of the construction phase came with the completion of Sugar Bush, Launch Complex 11, 30 November 1961, 18 months later. And as they said here, the subsequent pictures represent our launch complexes 1 through 12 in sequence from the groundbreaking ceremonies through the various phases of construction. Thank God these pictures exist. Right? We'd be in the dark with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Look at this one. Have you seen all these pictures, Fitz?
No, not.
Well, you're looking at them right now, baby.
This is site
The,
number 1.
That's
Got the date
something,
on it.
something they never see before.
7460, site number 1.
Which is Champlain.
Yeah.
Champlain was one, right?
Yes.
14. 7/14/60. Okay.
Who was here in
That
60?
memory is
Were
all
you,
kinds
either
of-
one of you guys here in
So we're in
60?
here.
No.
You weren't here till later.
Well, later on in 60.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I think it was, or was it 60? No, 61. 61.
Well, I'm sure all the sites looked roughly the same. You can see what the hard hats looked like in those days.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, they haven't changed much.
They haven't changed much.
No, they haven't changed much.
Okay. And next, this is August 23rd, 1960. This is also right here. You want to see what your hole in the ground looked like, young man?
I would imagine that's the LCC that the steel is already framed on.
That's it?
I would say that's the LCC.
And you said that's still in there? This steel.
LCC is
I think
That's
that's
where we
where,
were.
I would
Yeah,
think
the
that's
launch
where
control.
Where we
LCC
were.
Yeah.
launch control center.
Okay.
Yeah, launch control center. This other part had to be the major hole.
Yep, this is it. They had a little blasting, you think, to get down there?
Evidently, they had an awful lot of stone down through there. I didn't think that.
You didn't know there was that much rock ledge here, yeah?
No. I'm just
So it wasn't
wondering
all nice, easy sand
if- Yeah.
to make it digging.
Well, if it was sand, you'd have to have too many forms to come up through.
Does anybody know where the strategic proposition began for building these sites, exactly where they were in this circle? It's more than a semicircle because it goes 3/4 of the way around. Does anybody know? Do you know? Somebody sat somewhere at a round table, probably a lot more expensive than this one, and said, I think we're gonna build them right there. And why here in Plattsburgh's North Country? There are a lot of reasons why planes were stationed here at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. That's a whole other ballgame. The jet planes love to fly in cold weather. Way more efficient when it's below zero than when it's 100 degrees out west somewhere. So, and you know, where the flight paths are. You've seen those beautiful curves where the flights would go from here, and I've been on a few junkets with our various planes that were stationed here at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. We had a lot of different aircraft here over the years and ended up with the
Oh, yeah.
KC-135 tankers, as you know, B-52.
Yeah.
What, talk about-
B-111.
Yeah, the 111s later on, the B-52, the warhorse of the armed services of the United States for how many years?
We had to
We got
take,
B-52s flying right now that have been around for almost 60 years.
We had to take a lot of training on it too, because we probably would have been called in if one of them was crashed or in our area. We had to do a lot of training.
Of course you would.
Oh, yeah, we had to do a lot. We worked with the Air Force a lot, with the fire department.
You know, I spend a lot of time, I do it every time there's some special event with a local fire department, promoting the mutual aid system that we have among the fire departments here in this region. It's second to none and has been ever since it was first formed.
That's right.
And we talked about our fire department dating back to 1913 the other day when our new fire station was. Look at, fire in the hole. Look at this, 11/11/1960, we're getting toward the end of the year, November 11th.
Claude, you moved yours.
Mine's got to go, right?
You moved yours ahead of your.
Oh, we got
This
ahead
is
of
one
us.
we're on right now.
No, you're ahead, you're one ahead.
I'm one ahead.
Just hold on to that one.
Hang on to this.
Okay,
That's all right.
November 11th,
So this
Veterans
is,
Day, 1960.
That's-
Did they take any holidays? This is Veterans Day picture.
did you guys work did you both work 5-6 days a week?
We,
Did you?
when I was working for Asbury, it
Yeah,
was 7 days a week.
me too.
Yeah,
7
a
days,
week.
time and a half on Saturday, double time on Sunday.
Here's a question: what kind of wages were you making back then?
I remember, because I was a laborer.
About
I was one of the
what's it,
peons.
$4.50, $5 an hour,
Okay.
That much?
Yeah.
maybe a
Wow.
little bit better.
That's
I was making-
that's more than double what I made. I made $1.67 on Plattsburgh Air Force Base, pouring concrete. I made $2.12 when I went to the Seaway. Up to $2.50 or $2.60 maybe. But you know, double time on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Only in the liquid, seems like it was around $600 a week.
Wow.
That was good. It
Yeah.
was really good.
Oh, big
You know how long I worked on the radio before I made $600 a week? You don't even want to know.
I made $2.45 when I first got into my trade. And that was in 56.
Wow.
56.
How'd you get your first job? Through the union?
No, my father was superintendent for a company.
What's wrong with that?
I started out as a
A
roofer.
little nepotism
Yeah.
going on
I started
there.
out as a roofer.
Yeah, it works every
But
time.
we did,
Yeah, you're
but we
like
did a
that
lot of sheet
job.
metal work. We did a lot of sheet metal
Yeah.
work. So I just got into sheet metal more than the roofing.
I was never involved in any
Yeah.
specialized trades, you
Yeah,
know,
that's what
somebody
he-
said, start that pump over there,
That's
get
what
that
he wanted me to
vibrator
get
over
into, was a sheet
there.
metal trade. So
Well, you can get an idea looking at these pictures. I'm so glad they're this size. You get a much better idea. Now we can get up to the one you were looking at.
now you see
This is-
you see
I'm
the
up to
top of the
speed.
picture. See the reinforcing rod up there.
Yes,
See the wall behind it.
that's what you were talking about as we
That's
walked
full,
over here.
that's full of concrete over that now.
Yes,
See, we used to walk around the whole perimeter of that thing.
and this is February 15th, 1961. This is the same site.
Right.
Amazing steel. So there was a lot of welding going on
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
all the time. There are little sparks flying every now and again.
Probably 15, 20 welders going sometimes.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. The iron workers were doing theirs, the plumbers were doing theirs, sheet metal workers, iron workers, or the electricians, everybody was doing welding.
Well, we're moving out of the area, across the border to Vermont. This is site number 2 in Alberg.
Yeah, I'm ahead of you or something here.
Well, that's because you like
There we
it.
go.
there, you
There
got
we
it.
go.
You got it?
All right, now
got
you
you.
gotta share, Claude.
Yeah.
You gotta share. So, Tony, share with Claude.
Come on, kids, play fair.
That's the beginning then.
Yeah, right at the get-go.
That was, July 12th.
This is another one.
Do we know, Calvin, if all these pictures were taken by the same person?
I have no clue.
We don't know who took them. There was no.
Dynamics
Yeah,
Astronautics took them, but
that's
Yeah, whether they hired somebody to do it or.
I'm sure they got a
Yeah, it's going down into the hole right there. That's the LCC is up there.
So were you guys around when,
Go.
like this is
This year?
before your time?
Yeah, I wasn't working with it.
So this is August 23rd, 1960, also at Alberg.
Which one you got there, Roddy?
a big hole with a big.
That's the same one.
Yes.
This one there?
You guys are too fast for us over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Look at how many of you guys climbed these wooden ladders back in those days?
And see, this,
why
that was
didn't-
all done before we come here.
I climbed a lot of wooden ladders building the big projects on the Seaway.
Oh, yeah.
How, I'm out of breath walking up 16 steps in the thing today. Of course, when you're 18 years old.
Especially when your pacemaker won't kick in.
Oh, that too. Thump, 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 huh? All right. November 10th, 1960, we're
Right.
over there again. You know what that big tube's coming from, don't you?
Yeah. From way up on top. Now, you see that where they're standing?
Yep.
That was part of that round thing that they were standing on. The form. That's the form. That's what was going up. This form here. That was going up an inch at a time.
And with there,
And they just kept pouring and just lifting. Pouring and lifting.
on the Seaway,
pouring
we
and
would
lifting.
pour 4-inch levels. 4-foot levels. Your
No,
forms
this
would be
was
up
continuous.
It was all continuous.
It's continuous. Once you started, 24 hours a day till it was done.
Just, oh, no kidding.
24 hours
I
a
can
day.
understand why they would have to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
How were they lifting it?
They had big arms that come out. I don't know if you got something here that would show it or not. But it had big arms that come out and with cables
Yeah.
and it was lifting it up.
And the concrete was going in underneath it.
Yeah.
Isn't that's
But
truly
they had
amazing.
finishers down underneath this thing, finishing it off. This was about 12 foot high.
Okay.
And then as it got up, the guys would be finishing off underneath. It's hardening that fast. I think they said, I never saw this, but they say it was around 12, 14 feet high.
Now, this is technical, but did the concrete, was it different size stone in the concrete? Was it all just cement with no stone?
All stone. Come right from Plattsburgh Quarry.
Do you know for what size stone it was? Offhand?
Whatever they used, whatever the contractor,
Because, you know, in pouring most of the projects on the Seaway, it was 6-inch rock.
Oh,
You
no,
imagine trying to vibrate?
I don't believe this was
You had
like
to
that.
vibrate with these big
yeah,
bullet vibrators that weighed 70 pounds, and
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
believe
you
that
would
was
carry
like that.
one
I
on your
don't-
shoulder when you climbed 300 feet up one of those wooden
Right.
ladders.
yeah, see, that, whether they had
And here
that
it looks
figured
like
out,
they're
I don't
using
know.
snake vibrators. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's what those all air-powered snake.
Yeah.
You know, they're a long tube.
Yeah. These are clip-on chutes. You
Yep.
see where they come together?
You know, I can see the.
That's what broke when they pulled them guys in.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
really.
they were standing up there and just pulled them in.
This was standard aggregate concrete. One of the dates, you know, it says November there. Most of the concrete was poured during the wintertime. They lost only 2 days because of cold weather. It was
Think
16
about
below,
that.
16 below zero for a couple days in a row, and they couldn't pour concrete. Every day they would come in and they would have to chip ice away. They had big heaters and ice picks, and they'd chip the stuff out from behind the rebar so they could pour concrete.
They probably had these giant salamanders in there to make some heat.
Nice shot right there, isn't it?
And they even had to heat the aggregate back in
Of
Plattsburgh
course they would.
to keep it from freezing up.
Isn't that?
And everything was batch mixed in Plattsburgh and then trucked to site.
Oh, it was. They didn't actually make the cement here.
No, they were too
No,
concerned
no.
about the
What-
variability in the batches. They couldn't control the quality.
No.
And they did have an
I think
issue
they'll
at
come
All
from Plattsburgh
Sable.
Quarry.
Well, these are government sites, so you had to have inspectors everywhere
Oh, yeah.
All
to
Sable
make sure that
actually-
there was a right consistency.
They actually
yeah.
tore down the LCC after they'd poured it because it didn't meet spec.
Come
Well,
on.
you know yourself, when you call for cement on a job, they take the tubes.
Yep.
They have
Oh,
so
sure.
they can compact it.
They
They
still
put a
do it.
pressure on
Yeah.
it. It tells you what the pressure is going to be on that concrete. And if it's not at the right consistency, the whole load.
Yeah, I've seen
gone.
them. I've seen them tear out whole
Oh, yeah.
slabs
The
because
whole
an
load is
inspector
gone.
came in
Unless
and
it's
says
dry.
it's too wet
If
or
it's
too
dry,
dry.
you can put a little bit more
Yeah.
water into it, but if it's too wet, it's gone.
Yeah, slump rate is, and this
Uh-huh.
was a relatively dry mix too. It wasn't
was.
slurry that you'd think you'd just pour it in like mortar. It was fairly
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 dry.
dry.
There's a place on Route 11 just outside of Canton where they have thousands and thousands of them that they test those things. You go
Yeah.
alongside the road, you can see them where they throw the test tubes
I
away.
think it's part of this quarry system, right? This
I don't know
quarry
if that
here, I
was
think.
part of that. I think it's just general construction
Oh.
now, but I don't think you'd see much around here now of any of that stuff.
So we're talking October 5th, 1960, in the third site, and this is Swanton. Have any of you
Yep.
people visited that site?
I
Have you
did.
been over there?
In there.
That was the first one I was on.
It is. You
But
don't
it wasn't
remember the
like
hole
that. It
looking
wasn't
like that, there, does
no.
it?
No, it wasn't anything like that.
It looks like a farmer's field right next door,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Again, we're talking about February 1961.
yeah.
As Jeff said, you know, you worked around the clock. Most of these worked 7 days a week. And in my case, when I worked on construction, the seventh day was normally cleaning equipment and stuff, because a lot of laborers and other specialized trades didn't show up on that
Yeah.
seventh day.
You know what that is?
No.
That's one of the coils that holds the steel.
Is that what it is?
That's one of the coils. It's on the rod goes down through the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the coil springs that support it. It goes down to a big button.
Who would
on the
know that
side.
but you? I would never know what the heck that was. It looks like a big spring.
Yeah, that's what they are, coil springs. Those things
Wow.
are probably that big around, the coils themselves.
Amazing,
Well, you can
amazing.
see that's the bottom of it. See?
Next one. Yeah.
Well, here's a close-up, yeah.
Yeah.
We saw some of the big, huge chain and the,
That allowed for about a little over an inch bounce, and
Come
about,
on.
yeah, about a half G acceleration in all X, Y, and Z. So you could literally bounce the missile in there. And I've seen Titan II tests, which is the successor of this system, and you see the missile literally bounce up and down in the shaft.
I've seen that demonstrated with the other missile sites out in the Midwest. Uh,
When that missile came up out of the hole and it stopped, that whole steel thing would shake like a little bit. scare you. You wonder if it's going
Good
to
thing
fall.
they were
or-
guided missiles, because you wouldn't want to start it crooked, would you?
And that was a launch platform. It was about 3, maybe 4 stories tall. It had come up and then latched back down, and that's probably when you saw the missile. It only
Started wobbling.
probably go about an inch or two, but the
Yeah.
missile's so tall that you would see a large deflection at the top. Scary stuff.
Incredible. All right, number 4, guess where that is, folks? Willsboro.
Yeah.
Looks just like the other holes in the ground, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I see equipment in the background. I don't know if what those are,
Yeah.
what kind of trucks those are up in the corner above that. The familiar Euclid trucks, right? They changed in size a lot from the time I first worked on construction until
You
the
see
end.
looks like ice in the corner there on the right-hand side of that hopper.
Oh, where you're already ahead of us again?
No?
Yes, you are.
There you are. That's all right.
That's all right. We don't mind.
Oh,
catch
okay.
up.
So ice, we'll get to you.
Right in the corner there.
This is December 14th
Yep.
in Willsboro. You got to trust a lot of people and a lot of technology when you work on construction. We tried to make
Yeah.
that point, you and me, a while ago.
Yeah.
Look at the steel.
Now you see the beam that's going out over the top?
Yep.
Okay, that's one of the beams that holds the rod that thing lifts up on.
Ah.
Yeah, and that's kind of worth mentioning too. That not that it was brand new technology. The slip form continuous pour technology was relatively new. I mean, you see it in high rises now where it's second nature, where they just keep rising up the side and they're pouring concrete. You just keep going. Back then, that was still kind of new,
I did not know that.
and it was an all steel form that they just keep it moving when they had to have a continuous pour.
Wow. And this one is also in
Okay.
February. Yeah.
You see those two holes? What do you think they are?
Probably the tunnel or something.
See the holes right there?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think they are?
Tell me, not a clue.
Blast closures.
Oh, really?
So that if a bomb was to hit nearby, that had big doors, big round discs, probably about that thick, steel, and the shaft holding it up there, and it had a spring on it, spring loaded, so that if a bomb or something was to hit outside, it closed so it wouldn't go into the shock wouldn't go into the hole.
Okay, so I got a question for you. So those blast valves,
Yep, they're still in there, I would imagine.
yes, they are. Would they have installed those before they built the enclosure on the outside of the silo? What do you think?
Well, they were put in at the same time that we were doing general construction. In fact, we would have had the job of putting them in, and my friend started to go up and he was putting a choker around it. And when it did, when the guy picked it up with the crane, his thumb got caught between the cable and the closure. And he was hanging on to it, and they were lifting him up. The guy didn't see him that was directing the crane, and he was going up with it by just his thumb, so he had to hold on with his other hand so he wouldn't fall.
You're doing it to me, Tony.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of close calls on it. It really was. A lot
are
of close
inserts.
calls.
Okay.
Slid in. That's why the bolts are all the way around.
Also on,
Inserts, huh?
I don't know if that's actually where the hangers went with the coils on that or not.
Yep.
There's two of them. I think that's part of where they had the abutment more or less that had those pipes with the springs on them.
Yeah.
That they hang on that. There are four of them. See the four of them?
Yep.
From there down, everything is suspended from them things right there. All the steel is suspended from these four things.
Really?
That's holding 600, 700 ton
Actually, the weight of the missile, the cribbing, the launch platform and that, they weighed, it's about, I want to say 3.6 or 3.8 million pounds.
Yep,
And it's all
And
hanging
that's
from 4
all
points off
holding
the
it.
wall.
and that's
lot
what's
of
holding
weight.
it right there.
Yep.
Wow.
Those 4 spots.
No, I never would have known that. I'm so glad you came to see us today.
I wasn't gonna call him, but my son-in-law says, give him a call, give him a call. You
Oh,
were
I'm so glad you did. So next one is number 5 in Osable Forks. August 1960, so that's before either one of you were involved, right? Again?
Yeah,
But you get an idea what the overall site looks like.
yeah.
One of the things now that it has been brought to my attention, we're using the Corps of Engineers numbering scheme because, for example, we have Site 10, which is Lewis. Today, back in the day, the Air Force would have known that site as Site 5.
Oh, really?
And it'd actually be in the Corps of Engineers days, Site 10, Bouquet. So there is some confusion, and it's because the Corps of Engineers, when they started construction, they had a different naming. And I believe it, and I haven't been able to confirm this, it's because the sites originally were slated to have only 9 launching sites. Then the Congress said, no, let's make it 12. The logistics are about the same. So I have a feeling this Corps of Engineers said, okay, I've got them numbered for 9. Now we got to add some more. So it screwed up the numbering conventions
Is it?
between the Air Force and the Corps of Engineers.
Cal,
Go ahead.
we're gonna be here for a while longer, aren't we?
Yeah.
Can we cut for just a couple
Sure.
seconds?
Yeah.
Let me give a call at my house and see if my son can take my wife
Okay,
down.
okay. And I do have another, one of those maps like we looked at at the beginning.
Rather
that-
than rush it or something like
Right,
that, you
it
know?
showed number 12 as being Moore's.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
I went with what was attached to the pictures for the numbering, but my original look at this was far different when
Yeah.
we got to some of these
Yeah,
sites.
and
So
that does create some confusion because people will say Bouquet, or they'll say Chazy Lake, or they'll say Dannemora, and those are all the same. Well,
You know how much
Chazy and,
controversy there is over the
Dannemora are the same
pronunciation
site.
of
right, Chazy Lake and
the
Dannemora.
Bouquet,
Yeah.
The bouquet.
the Bouquet River. I called it Bouquet on the radio and I. This is a maze. This one is a maze.
No, don't move the picture.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
2 guys in the rebar. Did you see that was 3-inch rebar?
Yep.
3-inch rebar that had to all be craned in because it's such heavy stuff. I never worked with rebar that big.
No, it's big
That's
stuff.
kind of amazing. And you can,
Yeah.
after what we've discussed here today, you can understand why
Yep.
it had to be so heavy. That's a lot of steel work.
Yep. Yeah, sure
And
is.
that's December 29th, 1960, and that's at Osable Forks.
Or Bouquet, I'm not sure.
What was the site
For
number
Lewis.
5?
It could be Lewis. They changed the numbers like Jeff said,
Yeah.
so
Construction would be
site
all
number 5.
Yeah.
I would assume this is the LCC.
Site
Okay.
number 5.
And this is number 5, which you think is Osable Forks, right?
It is? Okay. Our expert says it is.
It is.
You can tell by the hills around
Oh, you can? Ah, so this is March 16th, 1961.
Yeah.
So this is just a few months before I arrived to work on the radio. 4th of July, 61 is when I started. 65 hours a week for $53. You want to talk about how much money you made? Well, I said every day, I got to go back on construction. This is killing me. So what are we looking at?
The
That's
LCC
the LCC, I would say.
type of thing we were in,
Yeah, I would say
when we were
that's
down
it.
below. So
I
they
would
bring
say
in
it's the
fill to bring
LCC
it up.
because, it doesn't look like it'd be as, as big for a silo.
No.
It doesn't have the haunch that comes out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's site 6.
September 1960, and this is Clayburg.
Yeah, that's
Or Redford, whatever.
just starting phase, just clearing it off.
Is it in Clayburg or Redford? I've heard both.
Yeah.
6, Fallburg.
Pick your city.
Clayburg or Redford? One of those twin cities.
Well, number 6 on this one would be Shazy Lake.
No. 7 is Shazy Lake.
Oh, Clayburg, yeah, okay, Clayburg. Yeah,
Yeah, you had to clear the site.
Yep.
So that was a whole different group of people, huh?
oh, yeah.
So they started that one in September. They're a few months behind the others.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. November 1960, and here we are on that same site again, from the inside. It was a little cold.
Yeah.
These guys are wearing, well, I don't know, we used to call them rubber suits, but they weren't rubber, were they? What was that? What were those yellow suits?
Neoprene?
Oh, we're going, Tony.
I hope not.
Me too.
All right.
Okay.
No, that's not me.
April 17th, 1961, same place.
Yeah. Okay, that's the main silo, the big one on the left.
So it tapers on the bottom. I noticed it looks like it's tapered.
Yeah, but they pour that afterwards. They pour that afterwards, because you see where the tunnel is gonna be?
Yeah.
Then there's a little bit more concrete they pour around that.
It goes from about 2.5 feet
Yeah.
to where it narrows down to the bottom, but the top part is 9 foot thick.
Oh, it is.
The
That's
sides
for
are,
the
yep.
cap, they need it for
Think
the-
about that for a minute.
Yeah.
9 feet. Wow.
That's several loads of concrete.
A lot of wheelbarrows.
I guess so.
October 11th, 1960, at that Shazy Lake, Dannemora site. Which is the one where they built the house in it?
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah, see the lake in the background?
That's
The bulldozer?
Redford, Clayburg.
No,
Oh.
this is, I think the town still owns this one. I think the
Yeah.
town of Dannemora still owns this
That's
one.
correct, they do.
That's probably, see, at the right-hand corner there, it looks like the lake.
Yeah, Shazy Lake.
Shazy
Yeah.
Lake.
That's
It
not
was
where the,
across the road.
It's a beautiful drive out
274
of there.
goes up through
You see
there.
the lake
Oh,
that
yeah,
comes
just
down.
nice, yeah. So April 17th, 1961, at that same spot.
Looks like they played in the snow a lot.
You can understand, I think, get a little perspective now as to how huge these projects were.
Oh, yeah.
How many total people were employed.
Yep.
A lot of local people as well as trades coming in from all over the country.
Yeah, during the
Now,
construction
there's
phase,
the
there was
horses,
yeah.
at least 100 people per site, so somewhere around 1,200 people throughout the missile launching systems.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
they're all trades.
Well, you know, when I came here, the big talk was how the housing business, rental and the sale of properties and houses changed overnight when they brought all these people in.
Yeah.
These guys are making pretty good money compared to the local Joe who's you know, working for $150 a week. And so they were pouring money into the economy. And it changed the housing market, as I mentioned before, forever and ever.
Now, this is the second phase, because the Quonset huts weren't there during the first phase.
This is January 62, that same
Yeah.
site, Shazy Lake.
See, the silo's already done, and they brought in the Quonset huts.
It looks cold to me, baby.
It was cold. Yeah.
September 1st, 1960 again. And this is Ellenberg.
Yep.
What, Cal?
is it Site 8? Yeah.
Yeah, Site 8, Ellenberg. Not an awful lot to see here, except you see a
No.
little activity going on, you know what's happening.
Clearing off the top.
Just getting it ready. Same site,
Yep.
a while later.
September 21st.
Oh yeah, September 21st, 1960 again.
There was only maybe 3 sites that weren't what you'd be considered a rock site. This site that we're here at today, one, had about 6 foot of topsoil, and then it was on rock ledge all the way down, very hard granite too. The other sites anywhere from 10 to 16 feet of topsoil, and the rest was rock. Riverview, Sugar Bush, that was the exception. That was glacial till, which was just a nightmare for construction.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like.
It had several cave-ins. We were talking about that earlier down there. It was just a horrible construction site. They put several dewatering pumps in and lowered the groundwater so they could stabilize the sand around the silo. Just phenomenal.
I was thinking about that, you know, how all this whole area was formed during the Ice Age back, what was that, 10 or 15,000 years ago. Geologically, very interesting part of the country with
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Yep.
back in
And,
those days.
Thinking of the different sites and the different soils and that, depending upon what type of engineer you talk to, they'll say, if it was left to me, if he's a soil engineer, they would have moved several of these sites because they're built on poor construction foundations. You know, you can make it work, it's just how much money you're going to put at it. But there's no rhyme or reason that I found that here's why Champlain's where it's at, here's why Swanton's where it's at, here's where the other ones are at. It's just kind of random. And that's all I've heard is there's
Put
no
a pin
reason
in the
for it.
map and say, let's put one up there.
But whoever the senator and the representatives were for New York played the biggest part of why we have silos out here. Because they knew that this is a
Very,
huge
very.
economic boost.
And it was. And I
Yep.
think we've touched on that a lot here. This is April 16th, 61, the same site in Ellenburg.
Just starting down, looks like.
See the striated rock and the,
Pretty tough
Wow.
digging, huh?
Boy,
tough going, huh?
imagine trying to use a sledgehammer and something like that.
No, forget that. August 24th, 1960, we're in Moores.
Yeah.
Just clearing off a little bit here. October 15th, 1960. That's the Moore site again. There are variations in the topography and the geology, but everything else, they were all identical, right?
Yeah,
Every site was
Yeah.
essentially identical
Well, you
in
can see
terms of
that
what
they're
they built.
putting these curtains in so that the dirt don't flow down into
Oh,
it.
sure. January 15th, 1961. Now this is Moore's again. This gives you a better idea about what the site's going to look like based on what we saw when we started today.
Yeah.
Never see too many workmen around when these pictures were taken, do you?
Construction workers don't like the photos taken.
Is that it?
Low profile.
August
Be surprised.
29th, 1960.
Yeah.
Now we're in the Boquet, the Lewis area.
Yeah. Just getting started.
Look at this. Boy, does that bring back memories.
It just started.
Chainsaw gangs. That's when I discovered the chainsaw back in those
Oh
days.
boy.
Okay, February 1961. Now we're back. We're in the Lewis. This is something we haven't seen before, isn't it?
I've never seen these pictures.
No, I mean, what is this structure? Does anybody know?
Beats me.
Looks like it spans the whole.
It does.
And
I've
it,
never confirmed it. It's a lifting structure. Now,
Could we
whether
say they
it's
put
to pull
lights
the
and stuff
form
on
up
it
or
or
Yeah.
whatever?
I don't know.
I don't know either. That's a new one on me.
No.
Same site, April 12th, 1961. These pictures must have originally been in a portfolio, right, Calvin?
Oh, they're in a big scrapbook.
Oh, in
Yeah.
a scrapbook.
Now, where would that big bar of steel be heading? Any idea?
That's the collimator sight tube. It points north to the North Star as part
Yeah,
of
that's
the
a-
guidance system for the missile.
Yeah,
Really?
It's a sight tube.
Down at
Wow.
level
Yeah.
6.5 or 7.
Yeah, that goes down to the 7th floor, 7th
Yeah.
level, I think it is.
There's a
That sight tube.
It's a big tube that's on the surface.
Yeah.
And it comes at an,
They had to sight it with the
Comes at an
stars.
angle, I can see it.
like this.
This had its own little room and everything with this instrument in there that looked straight out through that. And they could tell just where they were when the revolutions of the Earth as comparison to the stars or whatever. North Star, I guess, is what they were using as a site.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? Like our ancestors and the Vikings used all
Yeah.
those thousands of years ago.
Yep. You could tell just where Russia was.
Oh, we,
The guidance system absolutely had to know where it was in real space.
Yeah.
Several times a month, they'd realign it just to make sure it's absolutely correct. 'Cause
we
1
didn't have
degree-
all the satellites we have now, you know, your
Yep.
GPS triangulates on 3 satellites, about 3 satellites or more each time. It was a different ballgame back then, but it could be done.
Yeah. A
Sugar
1
Bush
degree
must
error
have-
over 6,000 miles
Think
is a
about
big
it.
mistake.
Oh, no, didn't mean to hit your house, Charlie.
Another county.
Yeah,
Sugar Bush must have been awful sandy.
Yeah,
this
that
is
was
Sugar
terrible.
Bush. Look at
Yeah,
this.
They must, you see
See,
where they.
this confirms what you
they
said a
had
few
big
minutes
copper
ago.
thing there.
Yeah.
October 1960.
Yeah.
What's kind of unique about that, you see the just the area, sheer area of what they've excavated to put in the LCC and the silo. Normally, you wouldn't see that big of a excavation. It didn't help.
It didn't help.
It didn't help. It still had cave-ins and
I can understand
serious problems.
completely why they would have cave-ins.
Yeah, they put these cribbings in there so that the sand won't slush down in there.
Yeah, these are good. These are wonderful photographs.
Yeah.
They give you a real bird's eye view of this whole operation. This is once again November 12th, 1960.
Yeah, see, they put drove the piles down through, all the way around the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Then they take the sand out of the middle as they go down.
Is that the way it worked?
Yeah, they have to take the sand out, and as it fills up with water, they pump the water out at the same time.
They had a big water problem. I remember that.
Yeah,
that's just like a caisson for like
Yeah,
a bridge
sure.
pier.
Exactly.
so
Same-
sandy
same
down
idea.
there.
Yep.
They'll probably show that.
Remember I was telling you about the track excavator? There's one right there they had down the hole.
Oh, sure. I can see it. April 17th, 61. That's at that same site.
And that's kind of interesting logistics. You see the bucket loader there, and they drill the holes, get ready to blast. They lift that out of the hole, move it aside, do the blast, put the thing back in the hole,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
it's up
big
and down
hoppers.
many times. to
Big
do that.
hoppers that went down with buckets on them. You just pick it up, throw it in there, they bring it out and dump it.
That's incredible.
Like mining, huh? Be like
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
You gotta do what you gotta do. One thing about construction is, if one way don't work, try another.
Now we're at Brainerdgeville. 10/8/1960. I guess they had, nobody actually lived on the site though, did they?
No.
Did anybody live on this site? I see they got trailers there, but they're work trailers, blueprints.
Yeah, those were the offices.
the offices.
Yeah, officers, and then, like electricians had, then each had an office, like, the GDA, the
Yeah.
general contractors. Then you might see some small ones where smaller contractors might bring one of his in. Then they had regular trailer trucks that they had full of tools and lights and storage trailers.
Yeah. Oh, this, boy, look at this. It's another view, looks like there's a tarp down below.
Yep,
This is January 13th, 1961.
yeah, just starting up with the steel.
This gives you an idea. If a man were standing, oh, he is, there's a man, a couple of guys. You can get an idea how big it is
Yeah,
compared to
and
the
they're not-
size
and
of a
they're- And they're
person.
not on the bottom either.
So you have perspective.
It looks like a wooden walkway down there.
Around the perimeter?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're probably right. So this is April 16th, from the outside. Had you ever seen any pictures of this stuff before you saw these, Cal?
No.
Neither had I. I think it's just amazing. Of course, when I got here, I was too busy to even visit the sites. You know, working 70 hours a week on the radio, I never got to see a lot of things outside.
well, there's the assembly of one of the missiles.
Okay, good. On the picture, you can read it. You can read it, the sheet.
Okay. The what I have is a
Yeah,
DDA scene on the Atlas Intercontinental Ballistic Missile production line.
Yep.
Shows where the huge missile separates or stages in flights. We know about stages having watched all the launches into orbit. After a few minutes of powered flight, the booster section, consisting of two large engines, their associated equipment, and the skirt around them, separates from the main structure and falls away. The missile is then powered by the smaller sustainer engine that remains in operation. This staging system was adopted because it eliminates the need to start a second stage engine in space, thus leading to an improvement in reliability. The Atlas was produced for the Air Force in the San Diego plant of GDA. And there you have it. In the beginning of the year, 1960. That's great to see, huh?
yeah. There must have been a test rocket, this other one that they're,
And this one says, the newest, most powerful Air Force Atlas intercontinental ballistic missile is loaded aboard a C-133B cargo aircraft.
No, that's a picture coming up.
Oh, that's another one later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a picture of a missile.
Going for a ride.
What they look like they're shooting off. The test,
yeah, that's a
test launch.
the testing one probably.
August 8th, 1961. It's certainly impressive.
Evidently they launched it.
Yeah, that one did go.
There's your doors.
Yep.
Did you want to read any of this, Calvin, or?
Just skim over it. Now, it's got different sections. It just to highlight
Different
what's-
sections. The first group operating involved the lowering of the launch platform, and the second one, the arrival of the first missile here at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. Missile taken out of on the base en route to one of the northern sites. They were amazing going down the road, and we've seen those. You know what reminded me when they built the windmills
Yep.
later on. The huge structures. Calvin and I were there. And then the last bunch is a series of a couple of water birds in the launch position. And then the missile arrived at the complex ready for lowering into the site.
Tell us about those doors.
Yep.
Those are the doors that Fitz is trying to pick up. They're up.
Yeah. The only thing, they don't have the rams on them.
Those are the big
Rams are not
doors
on the
you're
door.
working on.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the, that's not the launch elevator. The launch elevator's in here, in this picture here.
Look at all the pipes and. Everything has to be extra tough because you're
Yeah, this,
a big
what they
weight.
had to do is lift the missile up alongside of that
Oh, really?
to set it into the hole.
Oh, of course they would.
They had to stand it up and put it down in there.
What a fabulous set of pictures,
Oh,
huh?
it's-
Just
I guess.
without this, you'd have to do a lot of talking to try
Oh,
to
boy.
explain it.
Yeah.
Look at the size of this thing. Look.
Look at the
It's
size
being
of-
loaded in San Diego.
Look at the side of that crane,
Yeah.
too.
Get it sideways, there we go.
Yeah, July 1961. Wow, there's a
Oh, you're ahead
Good
of,
shot of it,
you're
isn't
ahead
it?
of us.
absolutely beautiful.
It's heading
See,
So which
Yep.
one are we at?
from what we got.
Run the rocket.
yeah, there we go.
It's getting loaded to head for Plattsburgh. And then the next picture shows the date it arrived, I think. It tells the date.
5 April 62.
First one arrives in Plattsburgh. And if you look close, you can see Clinton Community College, I think, from there.
Way up on the bluff. Oh, just a mere shadow over there.
That's a what, C5, right?
Yeah, those are big ones.
Man, that
Right.
must have been full.
You put 14 Greyhounds in there.
Think about it.
2 million ping pong balls.
Oh, ha ha ha!
I worked down at Stewart Air Base when they were renovating it, and that's what they were bringing in. They were building a hangar for it. You only could drive it in and drive it out the back. It took 3 cranes just to lift up the header across the doors to hold the doors.
No
It
kidding.
took 3 cranes to put that section up there.
Wow,
100 and some odd feet high that building was.
that's amazing. Well, you can see it moving and grooving across the concrete.
Yeah, Mr. Truckin'.
And the next one is, not sure if it's going in or coming out. It's going into the hangar and coming out of the hangar.
Yep.
Because the next series of pictures is going to show it on the road, sideways. There we go. Good shot of the airplanes.
Want to see the planes, folks?
Yeah, they've used this. This is one of the photos that they used at the exhibit at the Air Base Museum in Plattsburgh.
Oh, really?
It was good times when they had the base open here.
That's the big black hangar, isn't it?
Yeah, this is
The big black
this is
hangar.
very familiar to me. I was around here then at that time in 1962.
Sideways, there you go. There it is, leaving the base.
Those planes look familiar to you?
Yeah.
They sure do. They'd look familiar to my friend Les Bradford. He's gonna be 82 years old and he flew the last B-52 bomber out of here.
Oh, the next one's gonna have to turn them all sideways now, Gordy, because the next one's gonna be.
These look like
sideways.
B-47s.
Downtown Rouse's Point.
Yep. Yep, it's Rouse's Point.
Rouse's Point.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sure is.
That's the, yeah, don't move it, Gordy. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were taking it then.
it's,
That's going across the causeway.
Here, this first one is corner of Lake and Pratt. That's the old Grand Union, that dark roof. That's in the corner of Lake and Pratt Street right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's July, what, 62?
Yeah, this is July 26, 1962.
Where were you, Claude?
Well, it didn't leave much room across that
Were you
toll,
working right here, maybe?
by that toll booth.
Probably,
You're probably working right here.
yeah, because I wasn't holding the liquid then.
Here they're approaching the toll booth.
Same
Wonder what the
time.
toll booth, how much they charge them?
Yeah. Oh, let me see how many wheels you got there.
Yeah, right.
But looks like they, yeah, there's a dark thing on the right side of the road there. It looks like they widened the road, especially to get this through there? I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty narrow.
Yeah, sure
They,
look.
they
Yeah,
did, they
and they
actually,
had to make it wider
they
there.
moved the toll booth.
They moved the toll booth
Yep.
and put an apron there.
Yep, I'm assuming the toll booth is maybe located where that striped off area is. And,
Yeah.
The documentation I have said one of the accommodations was they had to move the toll booth.
I don't think they moved the toll booth. I think they widened the road.
Widen the road, okay.
Yeah, because the toll booth, there's cement all around it. It's on a cement island there. I think, Claude, that's pretty much where it is. It's
I don't think
between
it,
the two
no,
lanes.
I don't think that was moved.
No, I think they just widened the road there, so the missile could get by.
A lot of people don't know that they took a lot of that Fort Montgomery to build that causeway.
Yes, they did.
Bridge, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they used a lot of rock from there.
Yeah.
There it is on the old bridge. Same
Yeah,
date,
the old swing
Same
bridge.
date, yep, on the bridge.
the fort in the
The old
background.
swing bridge.
So I said, isn't that amazing? They're talking about perspective, the old and the new. Look at the fort in the background.
Yeah.
And
This is, go ahead.
I should point out that these pictures were printed off that DVD for me by folks at Border Press, and they did make some little postcards. If people want some of these, they can go to Border Press in Rouse's Point, and they can have a postcard of some of these scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Another wider shot of that drive going across with the fort in the background. That's the old bridge. That doesn't look like the new bridge.
No, the old one.
That was taken down.
This one here is Alberg.
1988 or so. Yeah, going through Alberg.
That's Alberg, yeah.
Yep, that's Silver.
I think this was the 26th, isn't it?
The cars,
26,
Yeah, the other pictures were
1962.
the 25th.
look at the cars on the other side of the
Yeah.
driveway there. It had all kinds of sightseers.
Yeah.
They knew it was coming.
Well, it was
Well,
a
they're holding
parade.
up- Holding
Yeah.
up traffic, I'm sure.
That was a real parade, yeah.
This one's up out of the hole.
Which location is it? Dash whatever?
3,
Dash 3, so that'd be Swanton.
Swanton. Yeah, Swanton.
Yeah,
There it is,
There
sitting
was
right
a
up
lot
there
of
proudly, huh?
there was a lot of money spent.
Huh.
But actually, $350 million for all of them.
Well-
Today you couldn't build them for 350 billion, I don't think.
Really,
Well,
probably each one.
having this in the 62, in October of 62, wasn't a bad thing.
No, that's right.
You know, that Cuban Missile Crisis.
I know.
Swanton still, in Slate 3.
Yep. There's a larger view, that's
This
from
is Willsboro. I think.
Wellsboro.
Site number 4, Willsboro. And our last three are from October 20th, 1962. So Claude, you were probably sitting right here watching this as this happened.
Yeah, this is site one.
This picture here will show you the rams on the door.
Okay.
So there's
Yes, that's us, right
Right
here.
there, yep.
the missile peeking its head out.
That's this one.
Yes, sir.
You get the doors open that far, then you'll know you really did something.
Yep.
A little bit further out.
Yeah, these are great shots.
Did they leave it out, Claude, or did they take it in and out every day, or what did
What's
they do?
that?
The missile.
When they brought it out of the hole,
Once it was in the hole, well, they practiced with it every once in a while, but they brought dummies in too, if I'm not mistaken, for tests.
No, this is October. This is the missile.
But this is, yeah, this is the missile itself, but I think that they had some kind of a dummy missile that they used to make sure that the elevator was gonna go up and down and it didn't have no glitches or anything before they brought the real one in.
Yeah.
I was told this, now whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I remember that.
Claude, when you saw something like this, how close were you? Could you get close to that thing, or?
No, we're probably over here.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in the hole when it was in there.
Okay.
Yeah, but this here was in the peak of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that is sticking out of the ground right here.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's very significant. And just wondering how often they did it, because around this same period of time, there's a fellow, in our first part of the series that we did, I talked to him, Fitzy told me about him. It's a local guy, Gerald Stone, and he and a friend snuck in across the gate and got pictures of the missile coming out of the silo.
Yeah.
So it might have been in and around this period of time, because it was a 62, he said, so.
I think I see that go up and down probably 3 times.
Oh, you did?
I saw it only once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well, it
about
must have been
three
that
times.
date, on October 20th.
Probably.
The biggest thing though was the explosion when those 4 helpers kicked them doors. I mean, them doors went from flat up to about this high, but that big one was pushing out at the same time, and it just boom, 15 seconds.
Talking about
Like
the breakaway jack.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, let's step outside and wrap this up.
All right. I don't know if you call this a motley crew or a fine quartet or what it is, but I certainly have had a wonderful time today. In the other room, getting ready to vacate the premises, is a gentleman whom we just met today, Jeff Stevens, who's doing Atlas missile research, and when we're all stuck for something, he'd say, yeah, that was 6.843 inches and 50 million pounds, and he's a guy who knows stuff that we didn't know. But this has been great. Fitz, thanks so much for inviting us here. Tony, you're the man. And you, young fella, just keep doing what you've done.
Keep doing what I'm doing, yeah.
It's great to have you all here, Claude
Cloud was supposed to
Bayshard.
bring the beer.
Hi?
Cloud was supposed to bring the beer.
We don't make beer. We just hope somebody else will make it.
Yeah. That was one of the good TV shows that we did a long time ago. Tony, you're just some of us are fixtures here in the North Country.
I guess so.
It's like they could put a nail on our neck and put us on the wall and we'd still be there a century from now. You, young man, had the foresight, the ingenuity, the moxie, as we used to call it, to get involved with a Atlas missile site for reasons that still escape me a little bit. So I wonder what is it? Is there no long-range plan for you?
It's just keep pecking away.
Just keep
pecking
pecking
away at the statue.
So if we come back in a decade,
I should still be here.
still pecking away.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Set our clocks, or
what's that o'clock and come back in a decade. This is part 2. Who knows how many other parts there might be in the future. Special thanks to Calvin for collecting these photographs for us to give us some reference to exactly what we're looking at. And for the good Lord for keeping the rain away. And it's actually, I don't think it's going to make 90 degrees today.
Let's hope not.
Either that or I'm getting immune to this heat. But it has been
get
fun.
used to it.
It has been fun, hasn't it?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
I think some of the old guys that are not with us anymore, like the old soldier and others from the former base, I wish they were here, including some of the people I worked on construction way back when. Because as somebody once said, there's been a little water over the dam since all of this started way back when. And that's a long time ago now. You know, for me, it was 54 years ago that I started on the radio. You guys working on construction in the middle 50s,
1954.
54, and
Get out of
you?
high school.
This was probably my first construction. I was raised on a farm up there by Pine Camp, and I left the farm and got into this kind of work and driving trucks and starting a business.
A lot of experience here, you know. And Calvin behind the camera since the early 1980s. Thanks to our viewers also for your comments and suggestions. We haven't had too many people screaming at us over the last week or so, so I guess they're happy with what we do. Always enjoy your comments and suggestions. I also like to end each one of our programs with a barefaced solicitation for funds. This is something we do because it's a labor of love. We do it because we think it needs to be done. We've covered a lot of history in the North Country over the years. But if one of the last programs that I did, I said, grab your wife's checkbook, write the biggest check you dare to write, and send it to Calvin Castine in care of Hometown Cable, 1477 Ridge Road in Champlain. And I end up every one of my programs by saying, who knows where we're going to be next time.